with 11:16 to go here in the third.
All right, man. I woke up today about 7 a.m. The beard been, he's been clocking me. I've been definitely getting up a little bit early. You've been seeing the tweets, around sunrise and whatnot. And it's not for my New York Giants. I was definitely just watching a lot of tape on the Cleveland Browns today. The Giants are 0-2. Browns are 1-1. Kickoff is 1 p.m. Sunday afternoon. The Browns are favored by 6.5. Over-unders 38.5 in this one. Browns barely beat the Jaguars last week, 18-13. It came down to the last play. The Giants lost to the Commanders 21-18. We've gone over that enough. Last meeting these two teams have played was in 2020. The Browns won 20-6. That was at MetLife. Now, the last time the Giants beat the Browns in Cleveland was in 2016. These two teams, though, have only played each other 5 times since 2004. The Giants are one of only 8 teams in the NFL right now to start off at 0-2. And I think it's not to anybody's real surprise outside of maybe Giants Nation. A lot of fans were very optimistic going into these first 2 games. This is Deshaun Watson's 3rd season. His time has been flying by. It's his 3rd season with the Browns. And he's a surprising 9-5 as a starter. And I want to say 3 of those losses came in his first season. Got to get off to a fast start in this game defensively is number 1. We've now seen in 2 weeks of football 2 quarterbacks go perfect in the first quarter of each of our first 2 games. Sam Darnold started off 12 for 12 in week 1. Jaden Daniels, I didn't even realize this, started off 10 of 10 last week. Shout out to the homie Rob for bringing that up in the chat earlier today. And I think the Giants, it's very important for us to capture an early lead in this game because we just are not built to play from behind as a football team. That goes for almost every team in the NFC East. I think that maybe the Philadelphia Eagles are the best at it right now. But the Giants have been down at the half in both of these games. And I think, Brian Dable did do a good job of scheming up Malik Neighbors last week. And I think you got to do the same thing this week. Malik Neighbors right now is 2nd in the NFL in receptions. After having just 5 receptions against the Minnesota Vikings, he went crazy against the Washington Commanders last week. He's 4th in the NFL in receiving yards. He's one of 4 players right now to have more than 50% of his team's air yards. So just think about that. Daniel Jones is dropping back, and half of the time the ball is traveling through the air, it's going to Malik Neighbors. I looked at the tape. I watched the All-22. I watched the condensed games for the Cleveland Browns. They run a ton of cover 1, man-to-man coverage underneath, 1 safety over top, which I saw a lot of the Commanders doing that as well in that game. And I thought it was an interesting way to try to stop Malik Neighbors. I would imagine that cover 2 would be the way to do it. You even saw today on the Get Up, they were talking about possibly banning cover 2 covers, like literally suggesting that we should ban cover 2, which I thought was just absolutely ridiculous. We're going to ban cover 4 as well. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. But I went back to a chart that my homie Doug Analytics had sent to me months ago in the offseason to just kind of check it, what the percentages were of coverage for the Cleveland Browns, to just make sure what I'm seeing with my eyes is, the data matches that. And the Browns in 2023, they ran cover 1 40.4% of the time. It was the 4th most in the NFL. They ran cover 3 23.8% of the time. That was the 8th most in the NFL. And the reason why it was pretty difficult for me to kind of assess the cover 3 especially was they play cover 3 with a safety in the box, which is not the way that I'm used to seeing it. I'm used to seeing cover 3 with the safety playing cloud coverage. They have their 2 corners play off the ball pretty much about 7 yards, and then they'll have that 1 safety in the middle, and they divide the field into thirds, which I think is just a really interesting way to play cover 3. But nonetheless, I think it's going to be obvious for Daniel Jones. I think that this is going to present a decent matchup for him, recognizing what 2 coverages to be able to choose from when it comes to what the Browns are running. Now, I'm extremely worried about this defense, and I'm not talking about ours. I'm worried about our defense. But I'm really extremely worried about this Cleveland Browns defense. They got 3 Pro Bowlers from last year. Myles Garrett, Defensive Player of the Year. They got Denzel Ward over there, one of the last shutdown corners in this league. And then they also got a linebacker, and I just love trying to say this name, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah.
And where'd he go to college?
I was going to ask you that a little bit later, but he went to Notre Dame. Big shout out to the beard one time. I love it, bro. They also brought in linebacker Jordan Hicks, who spent some time with the Vikings, the Cardinals, and the Eagles as well. Has had 100 tackles for the past 5 straight seasons. Very familiar with his time with Jim Schwartz, who's the coordinator right now with the Browns when he was in Philadelphia. They also got former Giant Dalvin Tomlinson plugging up the middle. Strong side linebacker Devin Bush over there as well. And then they got the left side linebacker, who I just said his name, and I'm going to try to say it again, Owusu Koromoa. Look, you know how, like, there's certain names, right? I write them how they sound.
Oh, my God. Like how you would read it in a dictionary, right?
Yes.
That's why I do the same thing in my notes.
Yo, bro, and I don't know if you saw the picture of him showing up to the game in his pregame outfit. This man was looking like Prince Hakeem, bro. He was draped down in the dashiki vibes, cap and everything, bro. You might as well through the gold chains. He was looking like, shout out to my homie that didn't he just pass away too? James Earl Jones.
Mm-hmm.
He was looking kind of like that, bro. Already has 12 solo tackles on a year. In 2023, he had 72 solo tackles, 3.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 6 pass deflections, 2 interceptions, and 18 pressures. I wrote down right here, I'm everywhere, you ain't never there. Because that's where he be at. I was going to ask you where he went to college as well. You already shouted out Notre Dame, man. Shout out to the Beard one time. The Browns defense right now is allowing the 12th fewest total yards per game at 294 yards per game through 2. The 13th fewest rushing yards per game. I was having a debate with somebody about this. 114.5 rushing yards per game. They were saying that's poor. I was like, it's 13th fewest right now. How's it poor? But nonetheless, they're tied for the 3rd most sacks per game with 3.5 right now. They've had 17 pressures when they just played the Jacksonville Jaguars. They got 4 sacks on Trevor Lawrence. And, man, the people comparing Daniel Jones to Trevor Lawrence, they're not watching the games. Because, yeah, you could look at the box score and be like, yeah, whatever, maybe after these first 2 weeks, especially after Trevor Lawrence has lost his last 7 games, which that's not a good thing. But, man, that dude was trying his damnedest to get that victory. Now, Myles Garrett, he told the reporters right after that game, his foot don't feel great, but he's going to be playing through it. I posted a picture of Myles Garrett on my Twitter page just this morning. I said, I'm scared of this motherfucker, right? And a lot of people were like, well, Andrew Thomas isn't scared of him. They're showing me the draft pictures, Andrew Thomas flexing. I'm just like, you're not looking at the tape, bro, because Myles Garrett don't be lining up on the left tackle for the most part. He lines up on the other side on the right tackle. So it's going to be mostly Jermaine Illuminor, and I imagine Theo Johnson throwing some chip blocks at him as well.
Yeah.
Now, Garrett, he did have a sack in the first game and a forced fumble in the first game. He did have a sack in the second game and a forced fumble in the second game. So I think you really got to keep your eyes on this guy. A lot of people saying they're not scared. Myles Garrett had a 31% pass rush win rate versus one of the best tackles the game has maybe seen in Trent Williams just last season. He's the first player since J.J. Watt in 2015 to record consecutive years with 16 sacks. Finished 8th in quarterback pressures in 2023 with 38. That was one ahead of Zadarius Smith. Zadarius Smith is his teammate, for those of y'all that don't know. So these are 2 guys that are on the same team that each had over 35 pressures last year. He's questionable coming into this game. I hope he's questionable when we get to Sunday. We'll see how that goes. But all I know is this. Myles Garrett right now dealing with that foot injury. You just got to pray that he don't put that foot in Daniel Jones' ass. Get rid of the ball quick. Rely on this running game. And hopefully we have a chance in this game. But we got to stop the run on the opposite side of the ball. That's very important as well. The Browns, they're getting their rushing attack just a little bit better here. 125 total rushing yards last week. They're missing Nick Chubb. My guy, Donta Foreman, looking a little iffy over there. The yards per carry wasn't all that great, 14 for 42 yards. Jerome Ford is getting it together right now, 9.1 yards per carry last week. And the Giants, as the Beard kind of, gave you a little bit of innuendo towards in his preview, we ain't that good against the run. We allowed 215 yards last week, and right now we're the 28th ranked rush defense in the entire league, allowing 163 point yards per game. The Browns, though, they're not losing games because they're quarterback. Don't let people fool you. A lot of the reason why they're losing games has to do with being undisciplined. And I'll start with the third downs. I know the Beard likes to talk about third downs. I'm gonna lead that for him. You just give me a little. You got the third downs over there.
You run with the thirds.
You want me to run with the third down? All right. So
down.
they were 2 of 14 on third down last week, and they won the game. So that goes to show you that game really shouldn't have been that close. 13 penalties for 100 yards. This is a very undisciplined team, and I want to break down one of the scenarios where the penalties are really costing them points and why their game against the Jaguars wasn't a blowout victory for them. They had 5 offensive penalties in the first 3 quarters. One of them came right at the beginning of the half, so you could really say it was 5 offensive penalties in the first half, damn near. And let me break down this sequence of events of where this game could have been a complete blowout. It's 7-0. They're driving down the field. First quarter, Amari Cooper drops a post corner. A post corner that Awthentik would never drop, by the way. You know the 7 is my favorite route, okay? And this is 2 games in a row that Amari Cooper has dropped what could have been a touchdown or a huge play. So you're looking at a situation at 7-0 where it could have went to 14-0. Instead, it goes 10-0. The ensuing kickoff, they kicked it off. This is the Beard's guy. He's been talking about Tank Bigsby for a couple of years now. I would say it's the biggest and the best hit I've seen on a player in the past 5 years, because when Tank Bigsby came out of that end zone and tried to run it down the field, he got smacked. And the ball went that way, and Tank Bigsby went that way. Okay? Now, the play is blown dead. There's a flag on the field. They have an illegal formation on the Browns. So now you're looking at a situation where the Browns could have been pushing 21-0, possibly 17-0, and instead the ball gets given back to the Jaguars, and it's just 10-0. You get a huge run from ATN. Trevor Lawrence ran for a 38-yard run, and the Browns defense did hold them to a field goal. But now you're looking at 10-3 with 5 minutes left in the half, rather than a game that could have been 21-0 at that point. The Browns added another field goal, and at the half, it was 13-3. So this could have been a 17-3, 17-0 type of situation, or 21-0 type of situation. And the Browns end up barely winning this game. In the second half, they completely struggled. And there was a coaching mistake as well that I noticed. This is the thing about primetime football. When you watch teams like the Philadelphia Eagles go up against the Atlanta Falcons on Monday night, and Saquon Barkley drops a pass on a 3rd down with no timeouts I'll add from the Atlanta Falcons, and you don't keep the clock running, the whole entire NFL community is going to know about it. The same thing happened in this Browns game. The Browns game ended the exact same way. They were trying to run the clock out. It was 18-13. The Browns were winning the game with damn near identically the same exact time left on the clock. It was 1:40 left in the game. No timeouts for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And the Cleveland Browns call a pass play on 3rd down. Up by 5. Deshaun Watson scrambles. The pressure starts to get to him. As a quarterback, he should have known in this situation, because they weren't in field goal range, to just take the sack. Instead, he falls back and throws the ball into the dirt. Now the Jacksonville Jaguars get the ball back with 1:25. Trevor Lawrence is making some plays, man. They're driving down the field. They get to about like the 50, maybe the Browns' 45-yard line. Clock ends up running out on them. The Cleveland Browns broke up the final play in the end zone to win that game. They're making things much more difficult than they have to. And I think that we might expect some of that same stuff going into this game. The Cleveland Browns are not scoring a lot of points. Their offense is not stretching the field. Kevin Stefanski is calling a lot of plays that are underneath. Their offense reminds me a lot of the New York Giants, except their quarterback is doing a lot of the work. He's doing a lot of off-script, a lot of extending the play, doing things with his legs that when we do that with our quarterback, it's more design stuff, I feel like, from Brian Dable's perspective. So, little long-winded, but that's how I see this game. I look at it like the Giants are going to have an opportunity in this one if they can just play better defense in this one. Because we know that the Browns defense is about to come out here and cause problems, especially if they're healthy, specifically Myles Garrett. But if our defense comes out here and they can't stop this Browns offense and hold them to under 20 points, the Giants are absolutely not going to have a chance. I want to know what you think about this matchup. I still got much more to talk about, but I want to know what you talk about. Maybe I'll just cross off some things on my list as you go.
Yeah, because I've been crossing some things off on my list here too. Because listen, I told you guys last segment, it's going to be a run-heavy sort of situation here from the Beard, and Jerome Ford could be in store for a big game. You talked about that Giants rush defense and how many yards they're giving up per game. That's the 5th most in the NFL. Listen, the Giants have a chance, right? It's 2 very bad offenses. The big difference here is Cleveland's defense is a lot better, okay? Cleveland's offense is pretty bad. Do you want to talk about 3rd down conversions? This is one I saved out of all the 3rd down nuggets.
That's why you said you go.
I had to save one nugget on the 3rd downs. Cleveland, it's so bad on 3rd down offensively. It's pretty funny. Can you guess? Just guess. What's their 3rd down conversion percentage on offense?
Off the 2 for 14, I'm going to say they're around 17%.
13.8%.
Damn.
3rd down conversion rate on the season offensively. That's pretty.
They're going to be running Joe Judge laps at practice with that kind of shit.
Yeah, that's really bad. And I'm kind of curious because as you were speaking about it, it made me kind of think. I knew that number, right? And I'm like, you talking about shooting themselves in the foot. I wonder how much of that is in direct correlation with them shooting themselves in the foot, whether it be penalties,
Most definitely.
sacks.
Just
stuff
looking
like
at the
that.
last game today from both angles, the Amari Cooper drops, their wide receiver core is so overrated. They had 3 other drops from Jerry Jeudy and Elijah Moore as well. The quarterback is constantly under pressure. Last game, 25 pressures, bro. 6 quarterback hits, 17 hurries. And he was only sacked 2 times.
And what's crazy is they've allowed the second most sacks in the NFL through 2 weeks. 8.
Yeah, because in week 1 against Dallas, it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's 8 total.
Yeah, 8 total sacks through the first 2 games.
Yeah, so 6 in that first game.
I think Devin Singletary, this might be an opportunity. Like, they're going to have to be real smart about it. I would say Cleveland is allowing 5 yards a carry. If you can get that on first down or second down, it's going to put Daniel Jones in a position to convert on third downs.
Absolutely.
You're not putting so much pressure on Daniel Jones to convert a 3rd and 9, a 3rd and 10, those sort of situations where, if it's 3rd and 5, 3rd and 3, something like that, and you do decide you want to pass the ball, you can find Malik Neighbors on those crossing routes like he did on Washington all damn day. So listen, this is another thing really interesting here. Cleveland might be licking their chops because they got a big fat 0 in this department. And that is on forced turnovers. Cleveland is one of a few teams to not force a turnover so far this season.
Denzel Ward dropped 2 interceptions last week.
Shooting themselves in. They are the Cleveland Tory Lanes is what they are, okay?
Well, that would be shooting somebody else in the field. We got to call them the Cleveland Plaxico Burrises.
Cleveland Plaxicos.
Cheddar Browns.
Okay.
The Cheddar Browns.
Cheddar Bob. Cheddar Browns. I like it.
Right.
Now, they are going.
It took you a while.
It did. I was like, he meant to say Bob. And then I was like, oh, we're talking about the Browns. But the New York Giants have the 7th worst turnover percentage in the NFL. So for those of you that don't know, turnover percentage is the percentage of times that a drive ends in a turnover. So 16.7% of the Giants' drives this season so far have ended in a turnover. So, the Browns here have an opportunity to force some turnovers and get off of that, 0 turnover forced bus. But for me, it's going to come down to Watson and Jones. Which one of these quarterbacks can play the best? Because I think everything else is kind of going to be a wash. And not even necessarily which one of them can play the best. Which one of them cannot play the worst? Okay, yeah. Because both of these guys more so Watson, not of recent, but both of these guys have shown ability to at least play, manageable football.
Absolutely.
But both of these guys have also shown you some really bad football.
Yeah.
And that's what it's going to come down to. Which one of these guys can not lose the game? Let's put it that way.
So what you got for that score?
Oh, the Giants are going to lose. I got that Cleveland 24.
Bro.
Cleveland 24, New York Giants 12.
12 is interesting. I like it, though.
Yeah, it's going to be tough, man. I don't know.
Are we talking 4 field goals? I like your score. 24 to 12, right? I'm going to just one-up it. I'm going to go 24-13. I think there'll be a touchdown and 2 field goals from the Giants. If the Giants want to win, you got to start by stopping the run. Jerome Ford and Donta Foreman, it's a great duo because one's a big bruiser guy. The other one's the hybrid smaller back that can catch the passes out of the backfield. Be ready to stop Deshaun Watson on the plays that he's going to be extending and going off script as well. And I think you just keep feeding Devin Singletary in this one. And maybe this is the game where the Giants can open up that passing attack a little bit and get a big play down the field. And you got to score in the red zone. It's a must that you score in the red zone. The Browns, this was one of the most surprising stats of all of last year for me. They had the worst red zone defense in the league. You want to take a guess at what the percentage was that they were allowing teams to convert touchdowns?
69.8.
That's damn close. 71% of the time they were allowing teams to score in the red zone.
Can't do that.
And goal-to-go situations, they were worse. 90% of the time they were allowing teams to score in goal-to-go. So get in the red zone, and when you get down there, don't walk away with field goals. You might have a chance. I think if the Giants don't score 20, they'll have absolutely no chance in this game. I don't think this is going to be like one of these low, kind of like the Jaguars game was, like a 18-13, 17-14 type of vibe. But I'm just going to pick the Cleveland Browns. I'll wait till I see it from the New York Giants in a major way before I start picking them in games. But right now, yeah, I like your score. I'm going to go 1 up, 24-13.